Welcome to the Mindspace podcast, your go-to channel for all things real estate in Kenya. Join us as we have exclusive insights into the dynamic world of property and investment, with expert insights and practical advice. Hosted by Mr. Mwenda Thuranira, the CEO of MySpace Properties. Each episode brings you valuable tips to navigate the ever-evolving real estate landscape. Stay tuned, informed, and let's explore the opportunities together. Karibu Mindspace.
Hello, how are you? This is your host Mwenda Thuranira of MySpace podcast, where we come here every Thursday to share our knowledge and learn from you. And of importance, of course, we'll want your questions, we'll want your opinions, your comments on what we're discussing. And as always, we try to bring value to you, to give you information which is worthwhile, which can help you on your journey of investment. So today, we are lucky to have a good guest with us. Her name is Makena Kingori. She's a lawyer. She'll introduce herself. And today, she'll talk to us matters land ownership. I'm sure many people have questions. If I want to buy land, where do I buy? What documents do I need to see? How am I protected legally? Naweza nyang'anywa hii shamba na mtu ama kitu kama hiyo. So today we are lucky to have a brilliant lawyer, Makena Kingori, who will explain to us details. It's very important you put your questions down here so that we can all be on one page. Tuwe pamoja, twende sambamba, unyo. Karibu Makena.
Thank you for having
Who's
me.
Makena?
Thank you for having me, Mwenda. Makena is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya with over 5 years practice, specializing in real estate law and commercial transactions. She's also a committee member at the Law Society of Kenya on the Land, Environment and Natural Resources Committee. So she is, by your definition, an expert, and I'm happy to be here.
Good. Welcome so much. I see people are tuning in on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and all the other channels we are on, especially Facebook is one of our main ones. And I see Newton Sang, Sam K. Chingi, Esther Kamie watching. Good. Thank you for joining us today. So tell us, why did you do law? Why not chemistry? Why didn't you become a doctor or a property dealer like me? Why?
Okay, I chose the law because I was very passionate about justice. I grew up seeing a lot of injustice occasioned on different social groups in society. And I remember as a child telling my parents that I would like to help. I was always asking to volunteer even in very dangerous zones. And when I realized there's only so much I can do, when I did my KCSE and got the qualifications to be admitted for law, I then decided that this is the course I will do, and I will actively pursue helping justice, helping people get what is rightfully theirs. Now, the interesting thing is when I was making this decision, I was thinking, like everyone else, that I would be doing this in a court of law every day, representing different kinds of arrested persons or accused persons or complainants. But when I started in second year, we had a course called property law. At the University of Nairobi, it was one of the least popular units, because we had a very strict lecturer who expected you to understand the concepts. So most people opted not to do that course. But I remember saying to myself, even if I take this course, this unit, and get a sort of average grade, at least I'll have the knowledge. But when I joined the classes, I realized it was actually very exciting. And I saw an avenue for justice, which I had not had articulated very clearly before, which was helping people own and invest, property specifically. So I decided this would be my path, and I took that path, and I've been running with it.
Good.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
For our viewers, we have young viewers, you have old viewers. For example, there's somebody who is in school wanting maybe to become a lawyer in future, wanting to become a Makena of tomorrow. So what would you advise such a person, somebody who is in college or somebody who's in who has not charted their way of career? What would you advise such a person?
Okay, so for aspiring young lawyers, especially the students in high school, I think the most important thing first is to emphasize the hard work component.
Kusoma mingi.
Yes, you have to be studious and you have to work hard. Law is a very demanding profession and it requires you to always be on toes with information and solutions for your clients. So you cannot be competent if you don't have the information. And I find a lot of this foundation is laid in high school because this is where you learn the English, which is one of the majors that you need to even apply and qualify to do a degree in law. There's history, there's government. Law is a very broad profession. So a lot of hard work. And for those who've just finished their degrees and are in Kenya School of Law, I think the idea is to ensure that you understand your subject matter and also put yourself in places where the opportunity to showcase your abilities is there. So volunteering, there's a lot of agencies that take on volunteers for all kinds of practitioners. So they could volunteer and hope and maybe just to tell them that like every other profession pursuing, the journey becomes better with time. So if you take on those volunteership roles, eventually the money that you are foregoing at that time will come. Yeah, so hard work, being good at your craft, and volunteering in spaces where you're needed.
Okay.
Yes.
And I mean, which universities offer this in Kenya now?
So I did my degree at the University of Nairobi at the Parklands campus. I know every other public university offers it, the KUs, the JKUATs. Strathmore also has a good law program. There was a program in law offered by MKU, but you know, Mwenda, it's been many years, so I finished my degree about 10 years ago.
Wow.
So almost 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then after finishing, you have to go to law school.
Yes, correct. So
Why do you have to go to law school?
The justification for the Kenya School of Law, this is not the one in Karen, is that they equip you with practice skills. At the degree level, they are teaching you the principles of law. So this is when you're introduced to the Constitution, you're introduced to psychology. If, say, someone wants to be a criminal lawyer, criminology, for example, is introduced, concepts of family law. But then at the Kenya School of Law, I remember the courses we did involved things like trial advocacy. So how to cross-examine a witness, how to draft a charge sheet, how to draft an agreement for sale, how to draft an information memorandum if, say, it's a corporate takeover. So this is where now they equip you with the technical skills of practice.
Oh, to get ready for the market.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, good. How comes, like I see these other courses, like a doctor, if you finish, you just go for internship and you're done. How comes these other courses, they don't do that?
In law specifically?
No. Other courses like doctor, engineering, architect. I don't see them going to other schools like law. Why can't it all be taught in the university at once?
I think that doctors have, I think after some time they also get to specialize, but within the campus as still. And I think architects also have a year of specialization. Maybe the difference is that with law, it's a different faculty, it's a different institution altogether that is training the advocates outside of the uni.
Does it happen in other countries?
It's law, like for example, in the US, law is usually a second degree. So I think, but they use a different system of law. They use civil law, that's what they follow, and we follow common law because we are under the Commonwealth. So in other countries, in East Africa, the EAC, where a Kenyan can practice with certain qualifications, it's usually the same. You do the university, and then you go to the bar school. Yes.
You said here we practice common law.
Yes, we do.
Common, is it common?
Yes.
Commonwealth or common law?
It's common law.
And the US is?
Civil law.
Civil law. What's the
Yes.
difference?
The common law, ours is based, because remember we were colonized by the British. So it's based on the law system that they followed through the monarchy, which is also why you will see we are wearing, say, the wigs. And our justice system, sometimes if you look at case law, we will, oftentimes if there's no precedent in Kenya on how a certain matter should be handled, we usually refer to other Commonwealth countries, and oftentimes it's the UK.
Oh, okay.
So that is usually the basis. Ours is based on a common law system, which originates from the monarchy and how they would govern themselves, while theirs is based on the federal system.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm learning. Thank you for tuning in. I see Njite, Riata, Da Costa, my friend from Mombasa, Samuel Doita, Nakuona, Flores Kishuku, Nick Titus, Getonga William, Morris Motuma, Ben Kimes, Bonnie Abari, Purity, watching from Meru. Thank you. I see the questions have started trickling in. So we'll be right back to address the questions. And also we talk matters land ownership. How are you protected legally when buying land? We'll be right back.
Natural light creates a sense of warmth and comfort to a space and instantly makes you welcomed in a home. And you will only find that at Sandpark Residence. Karibuni guys for a quick house tour. With as low as 6.5, you can own your future home or your next investment. Do not hesitate to give us a call. Karibuni Sandpark Residence.
Welcome to Selelo Business Park Kitengela. We are located along Namanga Highway, right behind Club 034 and GMC Place. As you can see, we have a prime parcel of land for lease going only for 200,000 Kenyan shilling an acre and only 100,000 Kenyan shilling for half an acre. Is actually ideal for various businesses such as lighting industry, garage, football pitch, petrol station, you name it. So karibu Kitengela. To let and buy at Babadogo from 7,500 square feet. Going for only 45 Kenyan shillings per square feet for prices to let and only 5,500 Kenyan shillings per square feet for prices to sell. Contact us now to make reservations. Karibu sana Babadogo.
welcome back. So today, as agreed, we are going to handle matters land ownership. So maybe for a first-time land buyer, as your questions come in, for the first-time land buyer, what should they be watchful, or what's the procedure how to own this land legally?
Okay. First of all, they need to know that the Constitution of Kenya, under Article 40, guarantees every person, any person, the right to own property in any part of Kenya. That's a good place to start, because sometimes people are intimidated out of their right to own property by various factors, but they are protected by the Constitution, which is the ultimate law of the land. Now, for the legalities they should look out for, the property transactions, and we've had this discussion before, they need to be aware that unlike any other transaction in the country that can be agreed upon verbally and stand strong before any court of law, property dealings must be in writing.
Yeah.
So that is the first thing. Exchanging property verbally, even if the money was exchanged, and if something goes wrong, courts will not be able to decide on that matter because the property was not transferred by way of writing. So that is the first thing. The other thing they need to do is make use of the registries. The registries are open to the public. They can conduct searches. They can engage lawyers and surveyors. All these professionals exist to help people peacefully buy property. So the lawyers will help you with the drafting of the documentation to make sure it is up to date and it captures your interest and safeguards it. They will help you undertake searches and transfers. The surveyors will help you obtain survey plans. The realtors, licensed agents, property agents will be a safe point to obtain property from, because if anything goes wrong, then you can point this sale back to an agent. And agents are licensed. So the first thing is the due diligence, which I find is increasingly more important to engage professionals, because there's too many steps involved in the process of buying land that if one was to go at it alone, it would be extremely exhausting. And there's things that even need to be certified by professionals. So the documentation and the engaging professionals is key, and it saves them a lot of peace of mind. Then the due diligence, going to view the property, which is important, because if you buy something that you have not seen, once you sign the documentation, the person that was selling it to you has already bound you to that transaction. So it's important to do a physical a physical inspection of the property and identify exactly what it is you want. That is also important because you need to know and see what you're buying. After we had the floods a few months back last year, a lot of people were coming back to people they had bought homes from and telling them, we did not know we were in riparian land, which is riverfront property. So the river is bursting, the banks are bursting, and now our homes are flooded. But it's because sometimes those steps of due diligence, people skip them, but it comes back to haunt the person. Yeah. So a physical inspection is good because you see, and you're able to identify some things that might not be visible on paper or even on a survey plan or a sketch map. Yes.
Wow, that's good. So the questions have started coming in.
Okay.
So I think we have a question from Robin Maitevia. Hello, watching live. Can I be a lawyer if books didn't? Or if books didn't do booking in high school, what is the least level that one can join law?
I know, like I said, that I'm not an expert in admissions, but I know when we did it, because I joined the class of 2010 at the University of Nairobi. If I'm not mistaken, I think the lowest grade one had to get was a B+ for the regular program. and I'm not able to speak on the parallel program because I think the admission in that front is done. I think the checks are different. But I know people who have done law as second degree, which sometimes can be easier. If one didn't qualify by virtue of their Form 4 grade, if they have another degree, I know some exceptions can be made to allow them to come and do law as a second degree if they have a first degree from a recognized university. And also there are people who do, again, the parallel program, and people who also bridge. So maybe somebody had sufficient grades for some units that are required, but maybe one of the fundamental units was not, they didn't get a good grade on that.
Yes.
I think that's an option.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow. So you can do enhancement.
You can enhance, yes.
Enhance for you to be able to practice law.
Yes, I think life always gives people a second chance.
Okay.
And if they're determined, I'm sure there's always a way they can get in.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Then we have a question from Festus Cheriot. What advice can you give to someone who wants to venture into real estate?
Okay, that's a very good question. I'm very passionate about real estate, so you'll stop me if I give him too many hints. But the most important thing is to have a good knowledge of the real estate market. The real estate market, whether as a lawyer or as a realtor or as any practitioner in property, it is important to know because you have to be able to guide people on the way forward and also anticipate. The law changes often. So I'll give you an example. Right now there's an act called the Sectional Properties Act, which relates to sale of apartment units and townhouses. And its intention is to give people of that kind of property their own independent title, which has not been the case before. So depending on a person's needs, if the person you're representing, say, is a developer, and they want to build apartments, but they don't want to let go of ownership or management for one reason or another, you should be able to guide them and explain to them that this would be the ideal structure if you wish to retain control on management, and that's an example. So knowledge of the market is very important. For that reason, it helps you advise clients, and it also helps you know where to look for opportunities. If it is in the middle of COVID, for example, and there's a pandemic, nobody is taking up office space. So this would be the wrong time to specialize on selling or transacting on office spaces and probably focus on residential and, say, Airbnbs, right? So it helps one understand where to position themselves because the market fluctuates depending on various factors, and especially in Kenya where we have a 5-year election cycle, which greatly affects the economy and in turn affects the real estate market. You can confirm to me, Mwenda, that the elections really play a big role in how the real estate market behaves.
Yes. People tend to hold back when it comes near election. There's uncertainty. So that one, watu wako wasiwasi kidogo.
Correct. Yes, so that would be it.
All right, good one. So we have another question here from Brenda Crystal. How will you distinguish a good lawyer? Remember, we had a fake lawyer sometimes back.
Okay. A good lawyer, just like any other good professional, first is known by their work and also by their name. The other thing with our profession is that under the Law Society of Kenya, we have a website where you can go and search an advocate by name. And you don't need to know all their names. You just need to know at least 2 names. And if you search their name on the LSK portal, you should be able to get their full details, when they were admitted to the bar, where they are practicing, their practice status. Sometimes people are not active because we renew our licenses every year. So sometimes someone has not renewed for that year, and maybe they're transacting. So the LSK search for me is the first place one should go if they want to be very sure and it's their first time. But outside of that, it would be just the kind of work they do. And that I think you can always know from your first interaction.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's good. So basically they can say Makena is a good lawyer.
Yes, I believe she is. Thank you.
She's a good one. Sawa,
Thank
sawa. That's
you.
why you are here.
Yes,
Good. Thank you.
Thank you for the compliment.
So I see some new people up tuning. Nicole Joroge, Ashua Mogo, Wakio Gidenji, Kedara Kabura, Adiel Mugambi from Matu. Habari rafiki yangu. Nailan Media says there's a technical problem. Wow, we'll get to the bottom of that. Philip Tunu, my friend, my partner, now in Dubai. We started MySpace together. Oh. But now he's based in Dubai.
That's lovely.
Good.
He's watching.
So people from Dubai are watching.
Yes.
Karibuni sana, Habibi. So let's get back very quickly. See, like when buying land, of course, you mentioned about getting a survey report, which I think is very important. I told you, like, there's an instant where I bought land. I was shown a land somewhere. It looked very strategic, very nice. Somewhere in Bamburi, in Mombasa. So, and the document is kosher. I did a search. Everything is okay. So later on, I saw some activity on that land. I went to ask them, what are you guys doing in our land? So I realized they told me, no, it's been our land for the longest. It's our land and we have all the documents. Then there I engaged a surveyor. When the surveyor came, my land was way inside, full of squatters. So I was duped. So when it comes to land ownership, how can you avoid such like a mistake we made?
That was an unfortunate situation. In the documentation that your lawyer will be preparing for you, which is another reason why it's important to engage the advocate when you're buying and selling land. Attached to the agreement for sale, usually they will attach a copy of something called a deed plan. Okay, and the deed plan will often show the land you're buying, a demarcation of it. So it's like a sketch map, but it shows you the size, it shows you the boundary lines of that property and the adjacent property. If you want to be even more vigilant, then you can obtain the survey report, which is obtained from the State Department of Survey. It's a national government function because government ultimately is who all the land vests in. So they keep it, that is not managed by counties, it's managed at state level. And they're the ones who have the record of each land, every piece of land and how it has been zoned and surveyed. So that would be important, so that even when you're looking at your deed plan or survey report, you can see that this particular section, which is LR number so and so, is here, and this is what I'm buying, and now your agreement will correspond with that. So that if later somebody comes and says, no, this is not what you bought, you just show them the documentation and say, look, I have an agreement, and we even have a corresponding map from the survey office verifying that this is the property.
Wow,
yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Good, thank you. There's something else. When we come back, when I'm selling a property, I'm supposed to seek, let's say, consent from my spouse. Let's say if you're married, either it's a man or a woman. So the land is mine. I bought it even before we got married. Why do I need a consent from you? We'll be right back on that issue.
Okay.
Natural light creates a sense of warmth and comfort to a space and instantly makes you welcomed in a home. And you will only find that at Sandpark Residence. Karibuni guys for a quick house tour. With as low as 6.5, you can own your future home or your next investment. Do not hesitate to give us a call. Karibuni Sunpark Residence.
We are still here at Sunpark Residences. Now, your kids are going to love you because it's a dedicated kids playground. Good thing about it is no matter where you live around here, you can keep an eye on what your child is doing here in the kiddies area. There's going to be an AstroTurf football pitch coming up, a swimming pool, all the amenities you need for the kids to enjoy themselves. They will love you here. You know who else is going to love you? Your bank manager. Because while your shilling is depreciating against the dollar constantly since this time last year, here your money grows. Whether it's for you to live in or for you to rent, the rental income here is really good. With the one beds going for an average 30 to 35,000 shillings, two beds can fetch between 45 to 50,000 shillings and up to 70,000 shillings a month for the three beds. Let's crunch the numbers. A one-bedroom apartment here goes for only 6.5 million. Deposit 20%. Pay the rest pole pole. Two-bedroom apartment goes for 8 million shillings. 20% deposit. Ile ingine pole pole. Three-bedroom apartment 10 million shillings. 20% deposit. Ile ingine pole pole. But with your shilling depreciating in the bank every day against the dollar, it makes sense to invest here. Your money will grow. Your bank manager will love you. Your kids will love you. And you will love yourself. This is Sunpark Residences.
Now, kitchen comes fitted with the cooker, oven, and the hood, the extractor.
It's the extractor.
Yes. So this comes as it is.
Standard,
it's part of the package.
So the kitchen comes like this?
Yes, minus fridge and microwave. Yes, everything else is standard. Comes just as it is.
Okay.
Then you have a double sink here.
Yes.
Yes, so the kitchen will come just as it is.
Okay.
Then you have a pantry or the storage.
Okay.
Quite spacious as well. And then that comes with the shelves, just the way it is.
The storage.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Then next here we have the utility area or the washing area.
Yeah.
So this is where you put your washing machine.
Yes.
We have piped it.
Yes.
And then next you put
This
your...
is specifically piped for the washing machine?
Yes, this is piped.
Yeah.
And then next is where you put your gas cylinder.
Okay.
It's also piped, so you don't put it inside, but outside here, we've considered safety.
Safety, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you have an extra provision,
Yes.
sink.
A sink here.
Yes, then after washing your clothes,
Yeah.
you can iron them from here.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a big workspace.
It's quite big.
Yes.
Yes. Then up here is where you put your hanging lines. So that's where you air or you hang your clothes.
Yes.
Yes.
Not about dryer.
Yeah, we see now we leave it at like this with the grills. So you have enough aeration. Exactly. Yes.
Welcome to Selelo Business Park Kitengela. We are located along Namanga Highway, right behind Club 034 and GMC Place. As you can see, we have a prime parcel of land for lease going only for 200,000 Kenyan shilling an acre and only 100,000 Kenyan shilling for half an acre. This is actually ideal for various businesses such as lighting industry, garage, football pitch, petrol station, you name it. So karibu Kitengela.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So there's this thing of spice of consent. Yes. Now I bought the land. When we got married, I have my property. I have my 10-acre piece of land, and I bought it for investment. I wanted to sell, and maybe by then, I mean, you were not there when I was buying it. Mm-hmm. Why is it that I need consent from my spouse when I'm selling my land?
Okay. Spousal consent. Okay, let me first define what is spousal consent. Spousal consent is the approval by a spouse of somebody to either sell or transact on a property in any kind of way. charging it, which would be taking a loan. So it is the consent of somebody's significant other. To be more specific, a husband or a wife, according to the laws of Kenya. Now, spousal consent for purposes of property transactions is required where the property being disposed in this case means either being sold or dealt with, is matrimonial property. So in your example, if the property had been acquired before your marriage, then it does not form part of matrimonial property. Matrimonial property is defined by the Matrimonial Property Act of Kenya and the Land Registration Act of Kenya. And both provide the definition that matrimonial property is property acquired during the subsistence of a marriage. So anything that the parties got independently before they got into this marriage is not matrimonial property. So a spousal consent for that particular example you've given would at face value not be required. However, the courts have given ruling that where a spouse has contributed to the advancement or the development of property that was acquired before marriage, which in that case it wouldn't be on the face of the law matrimonial property, then such property can become the subject of matrimonial property if there's a contribution, whether direct or indirect. Again, this is the court, so it's always on a case-by-case basis. But where there has been a form of contribution that can be proven, then that property can be considered matrimonial property, and the spouse who did not pay for it by money, but paid for it in other ways, could be allowed to claim that as matrimonial property and required to offer a spousal consent. Yes.
So if I bought it before, it's not necessary to get spousal consent?
If you bought it before and it's not. So on the law works in a very, and this is why the law is always subject to interpretation. The law is that if it was bought before, it is not matrimonial property. But remember the courts. The courts have been ruling because people have come to demonstrate that they got into marriages, they supported in one way or another to enable the property be developed, and by virtue of that, then they are deemed to have rights over that property. So it's usually on a case-by-case basis, but at face value, anything bought before marriage is not matrimonial property. Now, if we get married and say I come with land or you come with land and I pay for drilling of a borehole, for example, and then you pay for the putting up of the structure and I pay for the finishing. Do you think there would be a right for me to claim that is matrimonial property?
But now I've put in 99%, you put in 1%.
Yes.
How does it become now 50-50?
So these are usually the arguments the lawyers of both sides would have if this thing is contended before a court of law. But the courts have considered indirect contribution such as support, emotional support, taking care of children. And it could be both ways. It's not just the women who... Yes. So the man could also be the one offering some indirect support to the lady that came with her own land. So when on a balance of probabilities, it is deemed that there was sufficient contribution, then it can be considered matrimonial property.
So somebody is supposed to put in receipts?
Yes. Yes. In fact, the vigilant ones usually keep receipts. And that is what usually attached to their to their claims in court. Yes.
Is that not premeditated?
It could be. It's a very sensitive area.
So then I have a question from Elizabeth Mariga. I lost some piece of land to my ex-boyfriend that we had bought together, but the agreement only bared his name. The title was yet to be processed. I have transaction messages of the money I sent him while paying for the land, but no documentation to show I paid for the land. Could there be any hopes of recovery? If yes, how can I go about it?
This was her ex-boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
she sent some money to her ex.
To buy
boyfriend.
land together.
Yeah, so they bought the land together. But when the agreement was done to the boyfriend's name. Her name was not there.
Okay.
So she lost the land. So she's asking, is there a way she can get something out of it?
Under property law, it is fortunately or unfortunately very strict in law that, and this is why they required it to be in writing. So what is written is what is. Just like we said earlier, the person buying is the one deemed to be an owner. If this was a spouse, it would have been easier to claim because when spouses buy property during marriage, there's an assumption in law that they are buying it jointly with their spouse. So that even if a husband or wife is not listed on the agreement or the title, if they can prove they were legally married, the spouse whose name does not appear on the title can claim to be a joint owner, and that is very easy to prove.
But these are not married, this is boyfriend.
Yes. So boyfriends and girlfriends usually are a bit of a, it's not a very safe zone when it comes to investing. It's always good to have your names. Maybe the thing she can do is claim for that money as a debt, but not under property law. So perhaps, yes, what she can do is, depending on how much it was and if she calculates and sees it's worth it, she can engage a lawyer to help her put together those records of her sending the money. And then she can, depending on what she presents, these cases are usually based on what the client brings, she can pursue it as a debt. So almost as if it was a loan she was giving him without stating what it was for, and he needs to pay back. But in terms of property, it has to be in both parties' names, unfortunately. And a boyfriend, the laws do not recognize boyfriends and girlfriends as spouses. Even baby mamas and baby daddies are not recognized by law for purposes of property transactions.
So that may be a kind of a partnership agreement
Yes.
between the two parties.
Yes, if they had anything they had written among themselves, even maybe text, the courts are becoming a bit more liberal and accommodating. So if there's anything outside of that agreement, maybe SMSs, dialogue, written dialogue that shows them agreeing to contribute mutually for that property, she can use that, but only to claim the money back, not the property. Because the law is usually very strict on land and property, that whoever's name is there is the person that is. And it usually helps people. It's only unfortunate that for her case, that happened to her. She can try and claim it as a loan, but it's usually for the benefit of people that what is on the title is what is final. Because people it could even just be, even your employer could claim that they have rights to your property because they paid you and you use the money to, I mean, it could be anyone. So she could try and pursue it as a debt, but not the property. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much. Hey, today we are learning. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
So I think our next one will touch on the process of land ownership by foreigners in Kenya. And our parting shot. We'll be right back.
I'm standing on the most magnificent business square in Thome. Welcome to Thome Square. Come with me, let's discover why Thome Square is the best for your business. As you can see, we have ample parking, including basement parking. I want you to take note of how spacious these corridors are actually. Something very important, I want to show you how spacious these spaces are. Kuja. And to add on it, do you notice the ambient lighting in this place? Another factor that is a concern to many is security. And the security at Thome Square is top-notch. We have enough security personnel and the CCTV surveillance is 24/7. Another significant factor is that we are just adjacent to the northern bypass. That means enough foot traffic for your business.
Action.
What are you waiting for? Call us now.
Thank you for coming back. We have seen Timothy Murigi watching, Eric of Certified Homes, and Elizabeth Mariga says, okay, well understood, thank you. That issue, she brought up a good topic about the girlfriend, boyfriend buying things. And there's something you're explaining to me. Yes. Can you tell our viewers?
Okay, what I was explaining that I think the viewers and country should know is that you can buy property as a group or as a couple. A couple in this case being an unmarried pair. You could even buy property with your sister, with your brother, but you always look at the intention. So the law gives two provisions for how more than one person can own property. There is a way you can own property which is the default way, which is called joint tenancy or joint ownership of property, where two people come together, they buy property, and the intention is that it is for the two of them exclusively. I'll contrast that with the other option, which is owning property as tenants in common. That's what it's called in the law, where two or more people own property together, but their intention is that if, say, it was two people, is that each half is owned independently, notwithstanding the fact that the title holds both their name, notwithstanding. So I'll give you an example. If, say, I decide to invest in land with my sister, my intention, naturally, most of the time, would be that we are buying this land together, maybe because we are contributing 50-50, and perhaps the land was being sold as a unit, so we couldn't get half of it independently. So we agree we'll put the money half-half or 70-30, whatever ratios, and I will get my share and you'll get your share. So when that title is registered and it was made very clear that this is how we are owning it, it will be indicated that this tenancy, this ownership is by Jane and Mary as tenants in common. The registry will actually indicate that. And if it's a 50-50, it will say as tenants in common to the share of 50-50 each, to the share of 70-30 each. What that means is that in case anything is to happen to any of the two, if there's a succession or if it is to form part of the estate of either of the two, Jane, who had 70, she will own 70% of that, say 1 acre they bought, and Mary will own 30% of that. Okay. The difference with that and the joint tenancy, joint ownership, is that in joint ownership, if Mary and Jane and Mary owned the property as joint tenants, if it's about an estate, it forms part of each of of their own estate together. So, for example, if anything was to happen to any of them, then they will, it will revert fully to the other partner, to the other co-owner. In the other one, you own it 50-50. Just like how, say, people can rent a 2-bedroom together, but 1 bedroom is for one person and the other one is for one person,
Yes.
but they are sharing on the rent.
Yes.
If one person moves out of this other bedroom, the owner can bring another tenant.
Okay.
That is a tenancy in common. A joint tenancy means that if one person moves out of the other bedroom, the whole house now becomes for the first person who is already there. So most of the times, people need to be clear about the intention. The assumption is always that if it's a boyfriend and girlfriend, the assumption is usually that they intend to go into marriage and that it will form part of joint property. And for the record, the law assumes that property that is registered in the name of more than one person is owned jointly. So if your lawyer does not ask you to indicate how you intend to own, and say it was a chama of 4 girls or 4 men or a group of people, and they bought this land, but they did not indicate that they want each quarter to belong to each of the 4, it will be registered without indicating, but the assumption of law will be that it's joint. So if one person is so at the exclusion of one, it becomes property of the other 3. At the exclusion of 2, it becomes property of the other 2. And this becomes very problematic in cases of succession, in cases of divorce, and even sometimes when people want to offload a property, maybe to raise money. Because if it was the 50-50 case, Jane and Mary, and Mary decides, I want to liquidate my share in this, but she was in a joint property, she can't, because it has to be consented to by Jane. But where it's a tenancy in common, your half is recorded. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So, very quickly, can a foreigner own land in Kenya?
Yes. So under Article 40 in the Constitution, the right to own property, it is anybody who can own property, and it has been expressly indicated that foreigners can own land in Kenya, and they can own it to the tune of 99 years. Prior to the Constitution of Kenya, which was a 2010 constitution, the previous constitution allowed for foreigners to own land absolutely, freehold. But now, under the new constitution, foreigners can own land, but they'll own it up to 99 years. And that becomes very practical because you find a lot of times, unless they are buying a home, most foreign presence comes in Kenya to do agriculture, where they're obtaining large tracts of land. And these large tracts of lands, the ranches and the farms, are the ones that usually, most of the time, have that absolute title. So now if somebody is seeking to invest as a foreigner, or even you as Mwenda, say you have a partner who's not Kenyan, that property, because you usually attach the details of the company directors, so immediately they see that one attachment is a passport of a non-Kenyan, then in the transfer of property from the previous owner to you and your partner in business, it will come down to 99 years. Yes.
Okay, good. Quick one. There's a question here regarding, is it better to put land on a company name or personal name? What are the pros and cons? Let's say putting under your name.
It depends on why you're buying the land. If it's a home, for example, it's okay if you can own it in your name. The reason most people like to go for companies is, or even trusts sometimes, but I'll stick to what he's asked, companies, is usually to protect the interest of their children and their beneficiaries. And usually you find this happens when the stakes are high. So maybe you also, apart from owning these things, you own this land, maybe you also engage in other businesses. So if I'm engaging in business as an individual, so on the side I have a hardware and I have creditors and all these suppliers. If I want to protect them from claiming anything that I own as land, because that's for my children, I'll put it in a company. Because companies and individuals are considered separate. So you as a director of a company cannot, a company's assets belong to the company, but they don't belong to you as an individual. So it's a way of safeguarding property. It depends on why you would want to set up to buy the property. So if it's a one-off transaction, there's nothing wrong with owning it in your name, because also companies attract a lot of tax obligations. So you would also have to be up to date with your tax obligations. But if you're trying to structure your investments and the intention is to safeguard what you own for your beneficiaries and possibly from claims, if you have investments in many places, you don't want your hardware business to start coming for your land, So that would be why. But it's on a case-by-case basis. But yes, there's a strong argument for owning property in companies, but it could be, there'd be a lot of bureaucracy also under it. Yes.
Thank you so much, Makena. And that's quite some information. And I'm sure there are people with us today who would like to get in touch with you, who would like to visit you in your offices and get some legal advice or some legal work. How can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Okay, so our office is at Two Rivers. The name of the law firm is MK Legal. We are based at the Southern Tower on Two Rivers. It's the building on the rooftop, the center building. We are on first floor, and I'm also available on my phone numbers, which I'll share. I think can be put under the screen, but for those who are listening, we're available on WhatsApp on 0797 747 689 and 0723 233 994. So we answer questions as soon as we can, and they can also pay us a visit at Two Rivers. Okay. Yes.
So thank you. Thank you so much for teaching us and enlightening us matters illegal. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
Our viewers, thank you so much. It was nice having you around. And next week, Thursday, we'll do Matters Youth Mentorship. We'll be here with the one and only Honorable Steve Mbogo, Youth Mentorship. How does it work? How can somebody be mentored? How can somebody learn on how to make it big in business and other things so that you can be able to invest in real estate? On behalf of MySpace Properties, who are our sponsors for this show, thank you so much. See you next Thursday.
Thank you.
Sasa, mambo? Poa sana.
Uko fiti?
Niko salama.
Pole pole madam.
Sasa?
Karibu. Mimi niko poa.
Natafuta shops. Huku kuna kwanga nazo?
Shops ziko hata kuna moja pale. Ziko kwa ziko karibu mbili zeni. Then ukiangalia the environment pia, the environment iko sawa kabisa. Ukiona parking pia iko sawa. Mambo haiko mbaya hapa. Ndio mnasema sasa
hii nimeipenda kabisa.
Hizo ni iko sawa kwako?
Nimeipenda kabisa.
So unaona vile safi kama wewe mwenyewe?
Unaona kwa nini nataka kuchukua hii? Ni kwa sababu iko karibu na hii salon.
Okay.
Unaona watu wanatoka salon wakikuja botiki yangu.
Madam wewe ni mwakili. Najua dosi wanakuanga akili. Baba tulikuwa tunaambiwa a woman is braver than a man.
Acha maneno. Alafu unajua nikitaka kutengeneza nywele duka yangu iko next.
Si anatoka tu hata anaweza kuja hapa.
Sasa hata tu niende na management.
Haya.